Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's June 26th. This will be our chart listing for the day. And you can see, looking at our daily chart, we did bounce off that trend line today, but unfortunately, this is actually just a tad lower. Unfortunately, when we did trade higher, but unfortunately, we closed back down and kind of closed neutral. So, not sure if we're going to go higher here or not, or they're going to try to push through there and go lower. So it's really difficult. This didn't really help us today. This would have closed higher and we continued higher, closed on a high, with a higher high. It'd probably look more like, hey, we just had a second entry there. We're probably going there, and we still could go higher. This bar just doesn't help us to know that. So um, anyway, that's where we stand. And let's look at it. It's just kind of a neutral range day is what it was. So let's look at it on a 2,000 tick chart and go through the trades. Not a lot of trades. Not a very good trading day at all. Very difficult trading day. Lots of just mixed trading back and forth. No real rhyme or reason to things. Just not a lot of movement. Nobody. It's like nobody really wants to sell the market, but nobody wants to buy it up here. So we'll flip over there and take a look, and we can go through the trades. Okay, here's our 2,000 tick chart. You can see we closed, not much difference in the close. This line was yesterday, the red dash line, and you can see we closed maybe a couple of ticks lower than that at best. So almost closed unchanged. And you can see the overnight highs and lows here. And we broke lower momentarily early this morning. It looked like we may make another leg down, but that never transpired. Once we closed this right here and started heading down, I really thought they would attempt another leg down, but you can see on that breakout it failed and it rallied strongly and then just kind of went sideways. They tried to rally it again like they usually do late in the afternoon, and it met some selling today late there, and we didn't close higher like we normally do. So not sure what that means, if anything. So we'll just have to wait and see. There was one news item we had to be aware of. New home sales this morning. You can see that it didn't really have much effect on the market. It did trend higher momentarily, but I don't think there was much effect there, if any. So there it is. Big two legs down during the overnight. I didn't measure them. They look like they're probably measured legs. They're close enough to call them two measured legs. And then it was mostly sideways after that. We did, like I said, we did rally on this failed break lower. Unfortunately, there wasn't a good setup to get long down there. Just wasn't a very good trading day. Lots of green ones in here. And really, after about 10:30, 10:40, there's just not anything to trade here. So it is what it is. And you don't want to force trades. And this is when you have to be very disciplined and just be able to sit and be patient. But 7 o'clock came right in here, and there's just no chance to really enter in here. You don't want to. You got to be real careful once you get that far away from the EMA because it's not long. Then suddenly you can see we had a quick. There's actually two legs in this leg, then another leg. There's a quick two legs back to the EMA. This is a triple test either way, so you can take that. But you can clearly see there's two legs back as well. It's not a second entry because it's a first, second, third entry, but it doesn't matter because you got a triple test, which you can trade it on that, and you also have two legs back to the EMA. So, and then of course it does shoot down and make a new low, and it actually broke lower and failed and turned up and closed back in the range. Just trade that as a triple test. But we do have a break and new low, and it might be the low of the day. I like going long there just to try to get a scalp out of it, and you might get more. You probably don't get much more than a scalp out of that. News item here, you have to sit tight. But notice there's two legs back here. Unfortunately, that one kind of fell right at the just prior to 9 o'clock. So I think you have to wait, but you get a quickly you get a higher low, and you can see it didn't really affect the market. This one doesn't. This is a minute, almost 2 minutes after 9 o'clock. So you can see it wasn't really much effect. Just go long right there. It's a higher low. Then you get another triple test right here. I marked this one green. I'll be honest with you, I like this trade just basically because it's a triple test right off the key entry point in the EMA. And you would expect that prices are at least trying to fill that gap. And so that would have been your target. And you can see that's exactly where it went. It went a few ticks higher before it turned down. But you got to be careful going long right into resistance like that. But in this case, I like this trade just for a scalp. And if it keeps going higher, you get more out of it. But you're just looking for a scalp there, trying to scalp it out before it hits that test that fills that gap, and then maybe turns down again, which it does. And this is basically a new low here. So this is actually you got a new low right here. It's first entry, second entry. So there's a second entry short there, but it's also a lower high. You're still in this blue channel, unfortunately. So I did make this one green. But once you fill that gap, there's a good chance it's going to go lower. But you do have to consider that channel there. And so it's a little aggressive, but I still marked it. I like it. I marked it green. And you can see it turns out to be a really nice move down. And then you get a break. And we try to make a new low and can't there. And then it attempts to retest this high. Can't do that either. Notice this channel up. You get a break. Move to a new high. So this is probably played out. I like, if you got room back to the EMA, take that trade. This turns out to be a pretty good move down. Runs all the way down. It fails on the breakout down here again. But you just don't get a chance to really go long there. So, I mean, maybe you think about going long above that bar. Then you get an inside bar with an equal top. So you can't really trade that. And you just have to kind of sit tight on that one. Then you get a channel back, and it pretty much confirms that there's a trend line right there, right here. And then you get a higher low that bounces off of it again. I like that. And you got these, notice you try to go lower, up, and lower. You try to go lower a couple of different times there. If it breaks above that, it's probably going to go higher. And you may get a measured leg similar to this one. You'd look for a possible measured leg up. And it actually went much higher. To me, I believe this is an overshoot here. It looks like it fits better, just like I've drawn it here, and this looks like an overshoot. Now, it's hard to know that for a fact, so you have to be careful trading though here. You don't just assume it's going to reverse. This one is really tempting here. If you got a good lower high, you might go short there because it's kind of overdone. But it's always dangerous trying to pick a top. So I think you're better off just sit tight, and it does. It trends all the way back down here. You finally get a break and a couple of legs down, and it bounces right off the trend line there. And this yellow one's played out. If you'd had a good signal bar, you could go long there, but you don't get one. So there's a new swing high here. So it's just a first entry when it breaks above that inside bar. Makes another new high, so that's just a first entry. And you might say, hey, that's a higher low, but this is your signal bar, and you can't use that. This is just an inside bar. And I don't think you want to go short yet, but when it gives you this failed second entry long, I like that one. Now, that's an advanced trade. It's why it's marked green. I really like that trade, though. It's going to trap people, and you're probably going to get an easy scalp out of it. But it's not a trade that most of you should be taking. And it runs down here, and this looks like another overshoot to me here. You can see everything playing off the midline in there and closing, and so this looks like another overshoot here. It runs up, you still get a break. There's a second entry long right there, but signal bar is no good. It runs to a new high. You don't get a signal bar to go short either, and so there's just nothing there. And then this thing is mostly sideways here. But there's still an upward bias right there, and you can see it playing off that trend line. But I don't see a single entry there that looks worth entering to me. There's just nothing there. And you finally get a convincing close outside and a new high. That's also a failed breakout. So I like that one. Generally, you want to wait on the lower high. This actually breaks higher and turns down. It doesn't engulf though, and it closes outside the range, so it could bounce there. And you see it does get a little resistance there before it goes lower. So that one's a little dangerous. You really want a lower high. If this would have broke higher, maybe you enter there. If it finally breaks higher right here, but I don't think you want to go long right into the midline when we hadn't been able to really go much lower than that for so long. So I think if you didn't enter up here on this, and this one's more aggressive, then you just have to kind of wait till you just have to wait. And then you do get your break, and it still makes a new low even though everything closes inside the range. If you'd got a good signal bar there, you could have gone long. Now you do get a higher low here, but again, it's right into the midline, and we couldn't pierce that earlier. Although we were still in a downtrend there. Maybe we're going to go higher here now. I mean, that's another possible green one. I'm not crazy about it, especially this late in the day. It would have ended up working, but there's nothing. I mean, look at what you have to ride out, and that's sometimes hard to do, and people will exit and end up taking a loss, and it'll end up going where you expect it to go. I think you're just better off to sit tight right there. And that takes us into 2:30. So you can see there's just not much here today. Very weak trading day. There's no sense of direction here. It's hard to know what prices are doing in a lot of these cases. And when you don't know what prices are doing, what is the answer? I mean, you only take sure things. So if you don't know what prices are doing, the answer is you don't take a trade. And so that's where amateurs versus professional traders or profitable traders struggle, and the fact that a profitable trader knows, if I don't know for sure I'm going to get a winner, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to wait. And that's the best thing to do. But if you know what prices are doing, then go with it. But if you're not 100% sure, and in here it's really hard to know what prices are doing. They're really not doing anything. They don't know if they want to go higher or want to go lower. And so you just have to kind of sit tight, and sometimes on days like this, it's better off just to pack up and go home and wait for a better day. Live to trade another day. Don't risk your hard-earned trading capital guessing at anything or gambling. Definitely, we're not gamblers. If you gamble, you're never going to hit 80 or 90% win rates on your scalps, and that's doable. I know that people say, "Oh, nobody can trade like that," but we're only trying to get 4 ticks, 4 measly ticks. You can do it. If you learn to read this chart, you can do that. Is it easy? No. But once you figure it out, it gets a whole lot easier. But it takes a lot of time. I mean, it doesn't take that long to learn the strategy and understand the entries and all that. What takes so long is you need a lot of experience at it. You have to learn to trust the entries. You have to study these charts and sit here and see it for hours every day. And you can't do that trading live. You have to be sim trading, because the idea, and I don't care if you're not profitable, so this is not just for newbies. This is for anybody that's not profitable. If you're not profitable, what you need to be doing is sitting on the simulator, trading live data on the simulator, taking every trade you see that you think meets our criteria. And then at the end of the day, study those trades in that chart diligently. Figure out what you did right. And reinforce that, then figure out what you did wrong, and figure out and learn to correct it. And you'd be shocked at how quickly you'll get better. If you're trying to take 2 or 3 trades a day because you're trying to go ahead and double an account, you're not learning. You're not getting enough you're not getting enough trading practice and enough chart time. Yeah, you might be getting enough chart time sitting there watching prices print, but you're not you're not taking the trades, and you're not getting that experience of learning from. You have to learn your tendencies and correct them. We all have something slightly different. Some of us might have similar tendencies, but every one of us are different. You have to learn your tendencies and correct them. And you can't do that taking 2 or 3 trades a day. Think about it. This is a skill. And like any skill, how do you get better? Practice and repetition. So if you're playing the piano, let's say you want to be a professional piano player, and you play 10 or 15 minutes 3 times a day, how quick do you think you're going to get better? Versus if you play it 8 hours all day long every day. Who's going to get better the fastest? If you say they got equal talent and they got equal skill and they start in the same place, and one guy practices 8 hours a day and one guy practices 15 minutes 3 times a day. Who's going to 2 or 3 times a day? Who's going to get better the fastest? Trading is no different. No different. You've got to get that time, and it's practice and repetition, and lots and lots and lots of it. Again, it doesn't take that long. You might be able to learn the strategy in 6 months. Most people learn or get pretty good at the strategy in 6 months to a year. But where they're missing the boat is they don't have any experience. They haven't learned to see everything the chart's going to throw at you. They haven't learned to understand. They've still got tendencies that they don't know they have, and it fools them. It talks them into doing. What happens is most people try to trade with common sense because common sense has done you well in your life. Common sense is usually a good thing. And over your lifetime, you've reinforced to use your common sense because it's gotten you out of problems. It's gotten you out of sticky situations. It's helped you by using common sense. So you reinforce that. But prices do not move based on common sense. And so your natural tendency is to use your common sense to try to trade. And all that does is trip you up. You have to forget common sense, and you have to understand price movements and follow the rules. That's what our rules are there for, because they help you with the tendencies of price action versus your common sense. So keep that in mind. Follow the rules, be patient, and if you're not profitable, but get on the simulator and trade as much as you can, taking every trade you see that you think meets our criteria. And that would probably include most of the green ones too. Just take them, because you need to practice at taking them and seeing if they work and understanding what prices do, and then studying them and learning your tendencies and that kind of thing. And then slowly, what you'll see is you'll start to have a lot of winners. And that means you're getting better, or you'll have more winners. You'll start to see those little traps that you missed before. And you'll say, oh, it's just like a light will go on in your head, and it suddenly makes sense. But the only way to do that is through practice and repetition. So just remember that. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent today, but people need to hear that, and hopefully it was helpful for somebody today. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. That'll wrap up our week. So I'll see you tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.